James, first of all, let me get your reflections on an extraordinary few days in Washington. And what does the fallout mean? What are the ramifications for House Republicans?
Well, Kieran, this is one of the stupidest things I have ever seen in a lifetime, but I mean a literal lifetime of watching U.S. politics. Let's think about this for a minute. The week started with the whole kerfuffle around Jamal Bowman, a congressman from New York City, pulling a fire alarm thingo on the wall in Congress or in the Congressional Office Building to subvert a vote on avoiding a government shutdown. This is what everybody was talking about. And then what happens? Eight Republicans go on an absolute suicide squad mission with no plan for what they're going to do after, they succeed, to go and wind up joining with all of the Democrats to knock Kevin McCarthy out of the Speaker's chair. It's just ridiculous. And now the Republicans have no speaker. There is no speaker. They had gone from a position where any government shutdown was looking in the polls like it was going to get blamed on the Democrats to one where it's going to be squarely put on them. They look like a bunch of clowns, frankly.
And now they're in a situation, as you said, they didn't have a plan for what next, because surely the next speaker will face the same structural challenge, that being a rump of the party does not want to send money to Ukraine.
Yeah, well, look, it's not just about Ukraine that is part of the issue. The other parts of the issue are just a general, look to cut spending in general, and, a bunch of other sort of notions that they have. But the problem is, of course, politics is the art of the possible, and this covering Canberra. It's about what you can do. It's not about blowing it up because you don't get your way. And, you see this with factions in, the Liberal Party and Labour and everywhere, in politics here, and it's just a human condition. But I've never seen anything like this, where they just, a small group, a small rump, decided with sort of no idea what came next. It's like the underpants gnomes from South Park. They're going to steal all the underpants, and then the next question mark is, don't know what's going to happen next, but then they'll make a lot of money. I don't know. It's really that level of ridiculousness here that this strategy is, because there is no strategy. It was just, hey, we don't like Kevin McCarthy because he wouldn't do everything we thought he should do, and so therefore we're going to blow him up and we're going to look like clowns. And it's just these 8 Republicans who've done it. The rest of the Republicans are like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah. And then out of, well, I'm not, I've got to say, I was going to say I'm surprised, but it's hard to be surprised these days out of US politics, because every day there's something extraordinary. But when they start talking about Trump as speaker,
well, I mean, look,
that's hard to grapple with, particularly when he's so far ahead in the Republican primaries. He wants to be president, not Speaker of the House.
Look, there's a lot of things that are happening now. With that, also note that with that break in the line of succession, as it were, where do things go next? Well, they go to the Senate. If Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were to be, step away from their roles too. So there's all sorts of funny possibilities here. The idea of Trump being speaker is almost entertaining, but I think he's probably got a fair bit on his plate with all lawsuits and, of course, with his own campaign at the moment. But this is such an example, Kieran, of Republicans, and I've watched them do this my whole life, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
So the polling I'd seen had Trump very competitive, ahead in some polls versus Biden. What's your read on this chaos for the Republican Party in the House? Does it have any impact on Trump's prospects for 2024?
Well, this is the interesting thing. I actually don't think it does, because, what Trump has been doing over the last weeks and months, as you've seen, is quarantining himself from the whole sort of normal hurly-burly of Washington. So, he's not been doing the debates. He's not been, acting like he's part of the Republican process. He's simply acting like he's the nominee. And he's acting, Trump as Trump. He's not, part of the whole hurly-burly. If this was a normal sort of cycle where it was like all the candidates and they're all mixing it up and who's going to be the first among equals here, who's going to be the the nominee, then yeah, look, that would this would definitely contaminate that process. But I think that, you know, at this stage, what's happening in Congress looks to most people to be so absolutely separate from what's happening, you know, on that national stage, that I think that it definitely hurts the Republicans in the next congressional elections in 2024. But I just don't see that being bleed over into the presidential race, whoever the nominees for either party wind up being.
Yeah, you've said that to me a few times. I'm really interested in that Democratic Party question, because those that I've spoken to, you know, US representatives and others in Australia at least, still say to, you know, and commentators and others suggesting Biden will be it. You think he won't be. What's your analysis on that?
Well, look, I mean, if you just simply look at his performance, you know, they cannot hide him in the basement for an entire presidential campaign like they did last time, unless there's something else that's coming that we don't know about, and God help us if there is. But, you know, beyond that, already he only does public events between 10 and 4 p.m., so he's got basically a 6-hour good window, and even that window ain't great. You know, if you look at it, most people know that a vote for Biden would be a vote for Kamala Harris, because they do not think he has the physical stamina to make it without retiring sometime during another term. So the thing is that the superdelegates of the Democratic Party, after the convention or at the convention, could simply get together, smoke-filled room, and say, great, thank you for the primary votes and everybody, but here's our guy.